What's going on, everybody? Tom here with Black Sheep Keto, and welcome to another video review just for you subscribers out there. And if you're not a subscriber yet, please consider doing so. Now today we're going to be comparing three of the most common blood ketone meters on the market. We've got the KetoSens, the Keto Coach, and the Keto Mojo. But before we get into that, some of you may be wondering, if you're new to keto or new to blood meters in general, why do you even want one? So really quickly before we get into the actual comparison, a blood ketone meter is probably the most accurate way to check if you are in ketosis. You'll find different opinions on what is a actual good number to receive off of one. Some people say between 0.5 and 1.5. Honestly, just my style of keto is if you see a number on there, you're in ketosis, you're on a keto diet, you're doing a great job. There's so many things that can affect this throughout the day, but the reason a lot of people like these is because it really gives them this affirmation that they are in ketosis, and it's no longer this like Schrodinger's cat type thing where like you know you're eating the right foods, but simultaneously you still think you're not in ketosis, and it's this weird quantum state. This eliminates that. You do know for a fact that you are in ketosis if you have one of these things. On the other end of that, there are things like pee strips, which will kind of do the same thing, but if you are in ketosis and you drink too much water, it can show negative. There's a bunch of other problems with them. So I think the blood meter is the way that you're gonna get the best result, especially if you're someone like me that really likes data. But with that, guys, let's get right into the video. Alright everybody, before we get into the real nitty gritty of this stuff, let's just do a brief overview of all the devices. And as a note here before we start, there will be a link to a place where you can purchase every one of these devices down in the description. So no matter which one I choose, if you see a feature on any of these that you really like and you really want the device, just check the description. I've made it real easy for you guys to purchase it. So now let's look at all the devices. So starting on the right here, we have the KetoSens. Now this one's pretty cool. It's a nice kind of sleek design, very thin, pretty small. And it's got a black panel on it, which I really like that. I don't really like white panels. I'm a big fan of like the dark color scheme. If you've seen my website, you probably know that. And all of these will come with a carrying pouch as well that is not on the table. But this one here comes with the lancing device, 10 of these lancets, and 10 of the keto strips in the starter pack. Any additional lancets and strips, you have to purchase extra, and that's the same with any of these devices. Moving on to the Keto Coach, this one here. It's by far the thinnest and the smallest device we have. It does have a white backlighted on the panel. The whole device is actually really light, really small. I'm actually a big fan of this device. It does come with probably the nicest lancing device that any of them come with. I really am a fan of this. And it does come with the 10 lances and the 10 strips as well. Moving on to kind of the OG, and that is the Keto Mojo. Now, this thing has been around forever. I've probably owned this one here for two and a half years. It is a white panel on there, and it's very hard to see on camera, but in person, it does show up pretty well. It is by far the clunkiest and biggest device that we have here. And when you purchase this one, you do get the lancing device. It's a pretty nice lancing device, but realistically, you just need something to stab your finger, so they're all pretty even there. It comes with 10 lances, and then it comes with 10 glucose strips and 10 ketone strips. So that is right, this device does blood ketones and blood glucose levels, which makes it a little bit unique. But now that we've kind of had an overview of the devices, let's kind of get into the nitty gritty of what each one does, the cost associated with it, and my overall opinions of the device. So the first technical aspect that I want to look at of all these devices should be pretty obvious, but that is versatility. With the KetoSens and the Keto Coach, you get a blood ketone meter. That is it. It does blood ketones. And if you're on a keto diet, that is great. That's pretty much the only thing that you really need to look at. Now, when it comes to blood glucose levels, some people on a keto diet like to monitor that as well. And the Keto Mojo does both. So you have a different strip for the ketones and a different strip for the glucose, and you just have to order the strips from them, and you can measure both levels with the same device. So in terms of versatility, I have to put 1 point on the board for the Keto Mojo. Alright guys, moving on to the next category, and probably the most important for you guys, is the cost. I want to talk about the cost of the devices and the cost of per test pretty much for each one of these devices. So we're going to start here with the KetoSens. Now this device is normally $45 on sale for $37. But as with all these devices, when you look on their websites, they have that regular price and it's crossed out and has a lower price next to it. And I'm pretty sure that that's just their standard price. They just put a higher price and mark it down to try to incentivize you guys to buy it. But I usually see them at the same price that is the marked down price. So we're going to call this a $37 meter. Now let's talk about the price per strip / price per test. With all of these devices, I'm going to talk about the price of the actual strip and the price of the lancing needle. Here's the reason for it. It is medically recommended that you change your needle for every single test. I know a lot of people don't do that, but you really should. So for the sake of this being medically sound, I'm going to give you guys the prices as if you did exactly what you are advised to do. So let's talk about the KetoSens here. This one is actually the only one of the meters that I have on the table here that provides the strips and lancets together in a package. So when you buy a 50 count of strips, it gives you 50 lancets as well. And that is absolutely awesome. Now that price comes out to $43 for 50 of them, which is 86 cents per test. Not too bad in my opinion, considering if you were around 4 or 5 years ago, checking your blood ketones was almost $2 a test. So that is awesome. 86 cents including your lance and your strip. Beautiful. All right, guys, moving down our line here to the Keto Coach. Now, this device here for the starter kit is normally $60, but it is on sale for $50 pretty much all the time. Now, that's about the price that you're going to pay for the starter kit, but let's look at these strips. Now, unlike KetoSens, Keto Coach does not sell the strips and lancets as a package. You have to purchase them separately. Now, a 50 count box of the strips is $35 and a 100 count pack of the lancets is $10. So that gives us $40 for 50 tests or 80 cents per test. Now at 80 cents per test, I really have to give it to Keto Coach because that is probably the lowest price that I've seen per test on any blood ketone meter. You do have to buy the lancets and the strips separately, which is mildly inconvenient, but you can buy them from the exact same place, so it's not that big of a deal. But for those people who really want to test their blood ketone levels every day, 80 cents per test is absolutely phenomenal. And moving on to our last meter here, in terms of price, we have the Keto Mojo, and this device is the same as the Keto Coach. It is marked at $60 normally, pretty much always on sale for $50 for the starter kit. You do get the 10 glucose strips with that starter kit as opposed to the Keto Coach where you don't, but glucose strips are actually relatively cheap, and that's not really a factor in this decision. Now, to talk about their strips a little bit, they actually come in these tubes and they're not individually wrapped, which we will talk about more later, but a tube of 50 of these things is $50, so that's $1 per strip. And that doesn't include the lancets. So when you get the lancets factored in there, Keto Mojo actually does not even sell the lancets. You have to find one that is compatible with the lancing device they send you and buy them separately. I was able to find them for like $1.75 for 50 of them online, but I don't know, I don't really want to count that because of the fact that they don't sell them, but we can just say that your average test on a Keto Mojo, even if I use that $1.75 number, comes out to $1.04 roughly per test. So that is actually pretty significantly more than the Keto Coach or the KetoSens. So in terms of like your relative cost, I think the Keto Coach and per strip is going to be cheaper. Yes, the KetoSens meter is cheaper, but if you're going to be doing this a lot, spend the extra money on the Keto Coach meter and you're going to make it back in the savings on the strips. So now that we've looked at the cost to purchase and the cost per use of all of these meters, we're going to go ahead and chalk the one up to the Keto Coach. So that puts one on the board for the Keto Mojo and one on the board for the Keto Coach. But now we're going to talk a little bit about ease of use. So when it comes to ease of use, there are a few things to consider with these. The biggest factor that I want to talk about is self-coating strips. Other than that, they're the same thing. You pop a strip in the meter, you stab yourself, you put blood on it, it gives you a number. No big deal there. But with the Keto Mojo, there's a thing called a coating strip, and it's this little plastic piece that goes into the tip of the device, and one comes with every unique bottle. So it's just one extra step you have to do, and if you forget to do that, you're going to get wrong measurements. If you lose it and you never code the meter to that strip, you're going to get inaccurate measurements. So I think that in terms of ease of use, guys, the Keto Coach and the KetoSens are both going to get a point there because they do not have to be coded. They are self-coding meters. The strip already has that information encoded on the strip, so there's no need for those coding strips. So to me, that is a big plus for both of these meters. So that's going to put us at 1 for the Mojo, 2 for the Coach, and 1 for the KetoSens. Now, the next important factor to talk about here might not be super important for those of you guys who test all the time, but for people who just test maybe once a week, this can be a big factor, and that is expiration of the strips. Now, once you open these things up, obviously they decay and they have a very short shelf life. At least some of them do. Now, the thing about the KetoSens and the Keto Coach is they come in these little sealed foil packages, which means when you open it, you're just opening one and starting that oxidation process. So these are awesome because each one has their own shelf life. Now, the problem that I've run into with the Keto Mojo is they come in this tube full of multiple different strips. So as soon as you crack this tube open, you've got 6 months to use all 50 strips. Now, for most people, that's not hard to do, but say you're somebody who just likes to test once a week. You're going to expire the strips before you run out of them, and that can cost you a little bit of money. Now, the things with the Keto Coach and the KetoSens, They both have roughly the same expiration time. These ones that I've had for a few months now expire in like 15 months from now. So realistically, these things are probably gonna give you like an 18-month shelf life, and they do print it pretty clearly, the expiration date on the back of the packaging. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, individually sealed foil strips are definitely the way to go. So that's another point on the board for the Coach and the Sense. Now, one of the last things that I want to talk about with this review is some of the marketing that you'll see revolving around these products, which will be things like, they use less blood, they take less time, they hurt less, they do all that stuff. So I just kind of want to generally address this stuff. When it comes to accuracy, I have no way of testing these things, but all of these things are medical devices, which means they have to meet a certain degree of accuracy. So I think that's going to be a wash no matter what you read about each device. They're probably all just as accurate. And even if they're not, for the most part, guys, you're just looking for a positive confirmation that you are in ketosis and to see kind of how deep of a state of ketosis you're in. When it comes to hurting less, I've seen some of these people say, oh, their lancets are less painful. You're stabbing a needle into your finger. It's going to hurt a little bit. It doesn't matter which one you use. They are all stabbing a needle into your finger. They are all adjustable, so you can set the depth, and that actually is what's going to change the pain factor more than anything, is setting the proper depth of your needle. So I kind of just look at all that like it's just marketing BS. When it comes to like the time to read out to the screen, who cares? Doesn't matter. That should not be a big factor for yours. If the 7 seconds versus 9 seconds or whatever the thing is going to be a life or death situation for you, then that's a different story. But for most people, that extra 2 seconds or whatever doesn't matter. And I don't think that should really weigh into the decision of which meter to buy. Same thing goes for ones that use less blood. I very rarely have had a situation where I've popped my finger and not enough blood has come out. Sometimes it happens, but it's very rare. And usually when it does, it wouldn't even be enough blood to activate the meters that use less blood. I will say that the Keto Mojo does seem to use more blood than these other two devices, but realistically, once you've got the little prick in your finger and you squeeze it, enough blood comes out to activate really any of these devices. So I think that that's just another marketing strategy, and I don't really think it plays a factor at all into these devices. If you guys are interested in that, sure, take that into account. But for me, I'm just going to ignore all of those things because I think it's all just marketing stuff made up by these companies. And honestly, it makes no impact on you as the consumer. And the last thing I want to talk about before I kind of give my overall opinion and pick a clear winner here is the ease of purchasing them. And this is going to be subjective because some things are going to be in stores here soon, some things aren't. And honestly, I find online purchasing to be easier than a store anyway. So this is all subjective stuff. What I will say is what I like about the Keto Coach and the KetoSens is that you can purchase the lancing devices and the strips all in the same place. They're both available on Amazon. They can both be purchased from their websites. It's very readily available. With Amazon Prime, this stuff can be at your door in 2 days. Again, you can buy the strips and the lances right there. No problem at all. Now, when it comes to the Keto Mojo, I'm going to give it a little bit of a dock, and it's just a mild annoyance, and it's the fact that they do not sell the lancets at all, which means you're kind of playing the guessing game as to whether or not it's going to fit in the device. Now, one thing that I will say is I've looked at pretty much like all of these lances here, and I can't tell the difference. So as far as I'm concerned, you could probably buy any lance that you want for any of these devices. But if you want just that confirmation that it will fit there, buying it from the vendor that sold you the product is probably the best way to go. And that is a mild inconvenience with the Keto Mojo, is you have to go through and figure out which lances are designed for this. On their website, they do have a list of ones that they have tried in the lance, so that gives you a starting point, but realistically, that is a little bit of an annoyance. So when it comes to like ease to buy, I'm gonna give it to the Coach and the KetoSens as a tie. You guys may be noticing a trend here where these guys are pretty much tied in terms of everything except for cost. And that's kind of my sentiment as well. You can't go wrong with the KetoSens. You can't go wrong with the Keto Coach. The Keto Mojo is good if you like the glucose meter aspect of it, but glucose meters are relatively inexpensive, and if you want one, just get a dedicated glucose meter. But I feel like the Keto Mojo really needs to be updated. It hasn't changed in quite some time. Now they have like a special chip that can Bluetooth it to your phone, but that's another thing you have to remember and not lose. So realistically, I just think the Keto Mojo needs an update. So that's going to be the kind of the loser in this situation, unfortunately. I've loved this Keto Mojo. I've had it for a long time. You guys have seen it in me struggle with it in videos for years, trying to display it on the screen. And I've really started using these exclusively, mostly for the filming aspect, but also they're smaller, they're more convenient to order, and quite frankly, they are cheaper. And that is a big factor for me. And I think it's going to be the biggest factor for you guys out there as well, is how much is it going to cost me to stab myself? Now, if you've been keeping track of our point system here, the Keto Coach has it by 1 point, and that is just the cost. It is 6 cents cheaper per test than the KetoSens. Well, 6 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but over 100 tests, that's $6. If you're testing every single day over the year, that's $18. Maybe that's a big factor, maybe it's not. But I'm actually gonna give this to the Keto Coach for one very specific reason. I support small business. Now that's right, guys. The Keto Coach is owned by, as you guys probably know, Mr. Goody Beats, or he's half owner of it. He's got a partner in the company as well, but he's just, a small businessman trying to make a little bit of money for himself. The KetoSens itself is made by a company called iSense, which is a massive company. They make all sorts of meters. And honestly, if a guy like Goody and his partner are able to get the cost per strip down so much on the Keto Coach to make it really affordable to test, why can't a massive company that's got the buying power do the same thing? There's higher profit margins baked into this stuff, and obviously it's a big corporation, which, quite frankly, I'd rather support the small guy, especially if it saves me money in the end. I'd even pay a little more to support the small guy, but you know what? In this case, it's actually the cheapest option. So I really do have to give this to the Keto Coach. It is probably my favorite meter. I still like the KetoSens. I'll use it. To be honest, guys, I've stopped using the Keto Mojo altogether. It's just not my thing. But realistically, guys, if you're after a good one and you want to support, somebody who's doing a lot for the keto industry and really just a small business owner, go with the Keto Coach. All of these will be linked in the description for those of you that are curious. Pick the one that works best for you, but these are just my opinions. The Keto Coach is our clear winner. With that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close the video. If you like this video, guys, please give it a like. If you have any questions or comments, or have you tried one of these that you really liked or didn't like, let us know down in the comment section. And if you have not subscribed yet, do me a huge favor, guys. Hit that subscribe button, show some love, and I will see you in the next one.